Okay, so I had unmuted and then it muted me again. Good morning. This is Apostle Crystal Lee. Looks like we're having just a little bit of technical difficulty, but we are making it through here. Listen, we got to press through regardless of the objections. We're here for 111 days of kinetic prayer. This is day 57 of the prayer and day 51 of the fast. I'm excited to be here with you. As always, I've got Prophet Marlise in the building with me as well. And we're here for Expectancy versus Acceptance. This is part 8 of that conversation. And I'm excited to have this conversation with you this morning. Listen, if you are in the room right now or after the fact you're watching this video, for one, I want to appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much for being in the room with us. I pray that you're blessed by what you hear and that you're able to apply this to see the manifestation of the application. What I want you to do, though, right now is I want you to take the time to like the video. Go ahead and press the like button right now. Let's get that out of the way so that we can move forward and have these conversations. Prophet Marlise, can you greet the people this morning, sister? It's good to have you this morning.
Yes, good morning, good morning. How is everyone doing? God bless.
Absolutely amazing.
Yes,
Absolutely amazing. We've
yes,
been having,
today is a beautiful day.
yes, it is. Yes, it is. And we've been having some serious conversations in this area. It's been amazing for me. It's been amazing for me. It really has. And I'm excited to go on this journey once again with the people of Yah this morning. What's your take on it, Prophet Marlise?
Well, my take on this morning.
On the conversations that we've been having.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Listen, those conversations have been very impactful. And if we don't pay attention to them, we won't be ready for what's to come
Yeah.
because practical application is what's needed. Implementation is what's needed.
Mm-hmm.
We can't say get ready and not be prepared to move. We can't say, oh, prepare and not be ready to put on the armor. We
That's it.
can't say, you know, line up
Huh?
and
Line
you
up.
don't have your and you don't have your weapon.
Listen, nobody have on their clothing, their garments properly. Nobody even knows what's supposed to happen here. They haven't been through boot camp. They don't understand protocol. Protocol. Here's the thing: they don't understand the protocol of that military force. Okay,
Hmm.
that's real important because people love to talk about protocol, but what protocol are we following though? That's the question. Because if you're following protocol from a whole nother situation, that's not going to work in this realm right here. You know, you got your own
Hmm.
protocol. You have your own idea about what's supposed to take place right here, right now, in someone else's domain. No, that's not going to
Hmm.
work. That's like
No.
working at McDonald's coming to Burger King. I say that all the time. And now you talking about, I already know how to flip burgers. Now here you don't. You don't know how we flip burgers. Yeah, we understand that the burger is turned over, but we might have a different tool. We might have a different process. Our meat might be completely different. It might be 8 minutes instead of 5. I mean, come on. You got to understand the protocol of the place that you're in. And a lot
Hmm.
of us, because we were raised in the industrial complex, the religious industrial complex, the church industrial complex, we understand church protocol, but do we understand kingdom protocol? Do we understand that? Because it's easy to do church when you've done it your whole life. It gets easier and easier. You become more and more professional at that, at performance. But do you understand the protocol of the divine realm to be able to produce something that has never been seen, that eyes haven't seen and ears haven't heard? We hear all these verses, right? But do we understand the protocol that produces that? Or we just think it's going to just fall from the heavens? That is just because Yah owes it to us. He's just going to allow us to walk into it. No, there's some things that we got to align ourselves with. You understand what I'm saying? There is a necessity to align with the things of Yah in order to see the things of Yah. I see my baby girl in the room. Hey, mama. I see Elder Vicky. I called you several times yesterday, Elder. Um, we got to align. We just have to align. And that's what it is. Listen, conceiving the invisible is what we're going to talk about this morning as we're dealing with this paradigm of expectancy versus acceptance. We're in part 8 of that. And it's something, this is what the Father said, the diabolic curriculum of darkness is the schoolmaster for many factions and industrial complexes. And there's a need for the sons of Yah to leave the elementary or primary school intelligence and enter into the realms of divine higher learning. We can never appropriately contend in the realms of the spirit against collegiate demonic forces when we are staying on a preschool or primary school spiritual level. Hello. Senses got to be trained. We got to learn how to discern. We got to go from milk to meat. There has to be a skillfulness and a precision. This is not target practice, y'all. This is not target practice. This is war. We've been engaged in these intriguing concepts of expectancy versus acceptance, and we learned that herein lies a revelation for manifestation. In this contrast between those two, we identify the government of supernatural operations. I don't know if y'all understand the depth of what he's revealing to us. It's 5:11. I'm gonna catch these 11s on the second every time. We are literally passing through doors and dimensions every day. And as Prophet was talking about the practical application of the thing, you know, that's so necessary. Here's the first line of necessity, though. What are you applying? What are you practically applying to your life? What is it that you're putting into practice? Because what you're putting into practice is creating a pattern, which is why it's so hard to break a religious spirit. Hello. It's so difficult to deal with a religious spirit. Why? Because they've been practicing this their whole life. And to now understand that what they've been practicing their whole life could be potentially wrong? No. Impossible. That's impossible that what I've been practicing is wrong. That's what you think. But you got to identify where you've received the seed from. But let me tell you something. Where you receive a seed from is going to produce a thing. And that thing that you produce is going to be a combination of you and what you laid with. Your prayer, if you laid with the wrong thing, is that your seed can survive, that your seed will break through, that who you are would manifest in that seed, and that whatever that other thing is that you connected to would have no preeminence. Only people that understand what I just said is people that had children with people they shouldn't have children with. People that after the fact you're like, oh my God, what have I done? When you wake up from the dream, okay, when you wake up from that state, that comatose state, and you realize what just happened, thanks be to Yah that gives us the victory in everything, always causing us to triumph. But if you don't know that place, if you don't understand that place of triumph and victory, overcoming the space of treachery that the enemy tries to purvey, if you don't understand that you're more than a conqueror, and you don't understand that that just doesn't mean that it just automatically happens. It means that it's because of the relationship that you have with the Father that he can deal with, allow the good thing to come out of the negative thing that was created. He said, all things are going to work together for your good. Every single thing. That means there's going to be nothing that goes to waste, nothing that you process through, nothing that you've been through. It's all going to become a servant to you in another season. It's amazing when your sin becomes your servant. Oh my God. Can y'all put that in the room? My sin is going to become my servant. Talking about the stuff that you used to do. Now it's going to serve you because you're going to write the book. You're going to become the coach. You're going to become the leader. You're going to become the vessel. You're going to start the service business or the businesses that are a result of the thing. You're going to start the nonprofit. Why? Because you've been through something and you want to be the catalyst for change for other people so that they don't have to stay in the place they're in and the others don't even have to go into that space. It's going to work for you. Your former life is going to become your servant in this season. What you did is going to become the thing that you receive destined things from, that you receive the thing that was destined for you. It's going to come out of where you were and who you were. It's going to come out of that. That's not going to be your shame. It's not going to be your shame. It's going to be the thing that the Father uses to bless you. Huh? That's the thing. My sin becomes my servant. I didn't even know I was in error. I didn't even understand the things I was doing. Okay? I remember standing outside of those double doors the first time I got married, and my whole life flashed before me. I didn't know what I was seeing. I didn't understand what was going on. Wasn't nobody out there with me for me to say, listen, I just had a vision. Can you tell them to hold on for a minute? Let's talk about this. I walked on through those doors. You hear me? Whole life flashed before me. It's crazy. Something came up in my spirit this morning as it pertained to this conversation. We're going to talk a little bit about that this morning. We understand the necessity to train the spirit versus training the flesh. The flesh gets plenty of training. Plenty of training, okay? And listen, the truth is when you're dealing with war, there is a protocol. And they don't have anything to do. First thing they do when you go to the military, I've heard, is they start dealing with your mind. They really break your spirit. They break the spirit of your flesh. They break the spirit of your normalcy. They break the spirit of the person. Why? Because they need them to have another identity. They don't need you to be a civilian anymore. They begin to give you the mind of a soldier. They begin to break down your mind from that civilian mentality. And they start doing things like they cut your hair, you know. They give you clothes to wear that everybody else got on. They got to give you a uniform. And they begin to create an environment that is filled with protocols. You got to get up at a certain time. You got to go to bed at a certain time. You got to eat at a certain time. It's no leisurely stuff. You know, everything is regimented. And in the regimen, you're becoming something. Which is why the Father has talked about this discipline and why he's put us in this space of 111 days. He started us out, so somebody might say, well, we already had started, so shouldn't we have counted the other days? No, he said started right now from this point, 111 days. That was the precursor. That was the prelude. That was the prelude to where we were going. That was the introduction to what kinetic prayer was, so that you would have an identity on the thing that you were stepping into for 111 days. You would understand that this is a protocol, that this is boot camp, that this is a discipline. This is a divine regimen that has to be followed. And by the way, we're over in that 50. I don't see no likes in this video. Maybe I need to refresh my page. We are over in, yeah. Okay, there we go. I see it. Y'all all right. Y'all all right. We are over in day 51 of the fast, and I've been communicating with you guys that you need to make the transition. Whatever the Father is saying doesn't mean stop fasting, but I'm telling you, he's going to begin to direct you in a way that is suitable for where he's getting ready to take you. And some of us may need to not eat at all. Some of us, and understand, there may be a cold turkey for some of y'all on some issues, and there may be listen, I want you to drink water, or I want you to go on a juice fast. It's going to be some different conversations being had. It might be combinations of some of those things. But the reason that this is so important is because there's a preparation for where you're going. You know, when Elijah was in that cave, the angelic agency told him, wake up and eat, because where you're going to need the strength to get there. You're going to need the strength for the journey. Not just to get there, but the strength to carry it out, the strength to endure. All that you're called to do, you're going to need the strength for it. You understand what I'm saying? So there is a food that is suitable for whatever that function is. With the children of Israel, the Father gave them this, this stuff that fell, this substance. That's what I'm going to call it. They called it manna. He didn't call it manna. He released a substance that fell to the ground that was like the dew. You know how the dew is on the plants in the morning? The dew is on the ground. He released a substance. And that substance was what they took and gathered and made cakes from it. They hated it, but guess what? It was absolutely what they needed for where they were. For the function that they were operating in, they needed that, something light, not something heavy. They wanted something different. They wanted quail. They were making conversation about the flesh pots and, the leeks and the onions and the garlic and all of that. And he's like, that ain't what you need right now. First of all, you're in a wilderness. How you longing for something that you can't even access in the wilderness place? You got to become comfortable with the food, or the meat, meaning food, the substance that's being given to you in that place, because you need something light for the journey. You don't need something heavy for the journey. That angelic agency didn't wake Elijah up to a ram, a whole ram. You know what I'm saying? Get up and eat this ram. Get up and eat this meat, this, flesh. No, he gave him a cake. Yeah, that's why we call it angel's food cake. That's where the term angel's food cake came from, because of that passage. He gave him something light. But that light thing that he gave him had to have been supernaturally charged for the journey that he was going on. He didn't give him no 5-course meal. He said, get up and eat this, because you're going to need your energy. You're going to need fuel for the journey. It's an important time that we're living in. And we were looking at the video from yesterday, and I'm probably going to show you another one today. But one of the things I want us to get out of this is the fact that there is something that is in the invisible realm. And prayer is absolutely, prayer and meditation are the vehicles of the invisible realm. They are absolutely the vehicles for the invisible realm. It's no way around it. Even the world understands and knows. Even they know that how you function in the invisible realm is what you're creating in the natural realm. Even they know it. They're going to do what they do by a different spirit, and they're going to give their allegiance to another God, but they are still operating in a principle called prayer. And you can't get folks to pray. This denial of prayer is the denial of the transaction that gives power. Because everybody sees something, by the way. Everybody. Whether you see it in a dream, whether you see it in a day vision, whether it's a trance, everybody sees something. But the difference in those that see is whether whether they're even in school. How about that? But the difference could be between this primary school or elementary school, preschool level versus the collegiate level. What are you going to do with what you see? I have been facing and challenged with this idea that I'm seeing in leadership across the board of people acting like what is being given is just too high for people. They need the basics. Well, let me tell you something. Children see what is too high all the time. It's how they know what to become. It's instinctively a part of who they are, that they become what they see. They don't have to sit and have a dialogue about it. They don't have to sit and think about it. It actually just happens that they become that because they're constantly seeing something that is beyond their level right now. They're hearing things that are beyond their level every day, and they're becoming. They're processing something. And in the process, there's a subconscious that is giving them information so that when it comes to the place of transformation, when it comes time for them to transform into the image that's been before them, into the conversations that have been before them, they're going to transform into that space immediately. It's not going to be any, it's like a light switch comes on. They go through the process, they're turning over, they're sitting up, then they start crawling, and then they start pulling up on stuff. Nobody told them you need to pull up on stuff to walk. Instinctively, because of what they've seen, they're going to that place. They're getting there. They're like, oh, let me prop up, let me get up. It's in them because of what they've seen. They've conceived a thing, and something invisible is taking place in them based on what they've conceived. Something is forming based on what they've conceived. And this invisible nature that's taking place in them is what's causing them to believe that they can do what they see. They can become what they see. They can follow exactly what they're looking at. You don't have to sit down and have a conversation with a baby and say, okay, now you're 4 months, and in 9 months, or at your 9th month, you should walk, and let me show you how to walk, and let me tell you the dynamics of walking. Let me give you the ergonomic structure that you need to understand in order for you to actualize this. You know what I'm saying? You need to understand how the joints work, how the bones work. Nobody has that conversation. But when it comes to the things of Yah, we always want to dissect. Oh, well, that might be too much. Or this, they just need to. It's a lot of leaders that don't want people to grow. Because the Father knows how to grow what he's growing. He knows how to do what he's doing. He knows how to train who he's training. And understand the training must come from him, even if he's using a vessel. The training has to be his training for the people that are being trained, because they've got to go a specific place. So if you're being trained in fencing and you're going to a gunfight, you're going to have a problem. You might become excellent at fencing, but when you get to that gunfight, you're going to die. Because the point was you needed to have the right weapon for the right environment that you were going to. You don't pull out a sword at a gunfight. We are at the end of an age. We have to be mindful of what we're doing and intentional about what we're doing, because at the end of the age, there has to be a hastening of processes. Even the adversary is advancing his technology. Even he's hastening processes. Why? because he understands that he has a short time. He has a short time. And in that short time, he's got to get done what he needs to get done. He's got to convey what he needs to convey. He's got to have the conversations that he needs to have to position the people where he needs them to be, where he wants them to be. It's got to show something. We love amazing things. We always talk about the church industrial complex, always talks about miracles and signs and wonders, right? But we never deal with what it takes to get there. The master told them this. He said, I'm going to authorize you to go and do some things. Now, that was his authorization to go and do it because they were with him. But they got to a place where they couldn't do nothing with something. And they were questioning like, well, why can't we, what happened? Like, you gave us authorization. Why couldn't we do da-da-da? Why couldn't we heal? Why couldn't we bring deliverance to the boy? Why couldn't we heal his condition? He said, because some things come out by prayer and fasting. Some things are a matter of your lifestyle. You may be authorized to do it, but until you get in training, then your authorization doesn't matter. You know how they say, well, you don't come through this door unless you're an employee. You could be an employee, right? But you still have to be trained in order to go out on the floor. So you may be coming to training to go through that door, but you can't actually go out on the floor and do what it is that you're being hired to do yet, even though you were able to go through the door. Does that make sense? You may be authorized to go through the door right now, but you're going to be trained first. The training is required in order for you to come out the door and go onto the floor. So it's some levels of training and some levels of conceiving a thing that you need to do before you can actually activate that and see the response or the produce of it, the produce of it. Prophet Marlise? She's on mute, talking on mute. Oh, listen, before you can see the produce of something, you're going to have to first conceive it. And that thing is going to have to go through its process. And then you can see the birth of it. She'll come back on. Then you can see the birth of it. So there were a couple of things that came up in my spirit this morning that had to do with prayer. And I just thought it was fascinating. So I'm going to share those things with you as soon as I can get to them. There we go. All right. The master had a conversation with his disciples. And there was a question that they asked him. They said, Master, teach us to pray. Right? Teach us to do what you do. They understood that it was something that he understood that they were not yet aware of. They understood that. They were not confused that there was something that he understood. They were watching him. They said it's something that he understands that we're not privy to. So we want to know what he knows so that we can do what he does. Go ahead, Prophet. You can answer. You can respond, and I'll jump back in. You're still on mute, sister.
Yes.
There
There
you
we
go.
go. Ah, my Lord. We are not having technical difficulties on this day.
On this day.
On this day, there will be none. There will be no interference. There will be no
None.
blockages, no hindrances. I'm declaring
No.
the decree on that one now.
Oh, there'll be no stopping this.
There will be no stopping it.
Regardless of blockages or hindrances, that we overcome those. Those are necessary to test our desire. You know,
Amen.
that's what those are for. To see if you really want it, because most people could just fall off and be like, well, I just couldn't get on. I just kept getting kicked off. If you ask some of the people in the room, when we've been on those prayer lines over the years, we would get kicked off 11 times and get back on. Get kicked off 8 times and get back. Listen, we
Come
wasn't
on.
playing. We wasn't playing. We were not going to be stopped.
Amen.
Go ahead, Prophet.
Praise God. I didn't hear the full question you were
No,
asking.
it wasn't a question. I was asking, I was talking about the necessity for us to understand that we got to go beyond the elementary level of things and get
Oh,
to that,
yeah.
because of what we're dealing with. It's not what it was. And so because diabolic technology is advancing, the sons must advance. We must
Amen.
understand the divine technology's advancement is beyond diabolic advancements, but we're only seeing diabolic advancements because people are not understanding the nature and um the what am I trying to say? The nature and the necessity of what's in the invisible realm. But darkness understands the nature and the necessity of the invisible realm. They're dealing in it. They might not be dealing in it from the perspective that the sons of Yah are dealing, because they are opposition to that, but they do understand the working of the invisible realm.
Yeah, oh yes, they do.
They
And we
understand
do.
the necessity of that. So I left off on the master um, getting ready to take those disciples through that place, but they asked, Prophet. They understood that he knew something that they didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're dealing in prayer, a lot of people think they know what prayer is and think they know how to pray, but they don't. They're simply following religious patterns. So when I say something like kinetic prayer, or we go into the various phases of prayer that we're going to talk about throughout the year as it's coming up in the new year, they're like, what is that? you
Yeah,
know,
that's true.
like, what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like prayer is just prayer. No, it's not. And it's not something that you come up with. So it's the understanding that, listen, this thing is beyond us. We have the privilege of being chosen to do what we do. We have the privilege of engaging in these spaces to produce something, but we don't know this unless we've been processed through it, unless we've been trained to do it. We don't know it. So people just open up prayer lines and just say, let's pray, you know? And if you hold a prayer class, they won't come to it because they feel like, I don't need to learn how to pray. I've been doing that my whole life. And wrong. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
because a
wrong.
lot of them don't even know what intercession prayer is.
And wrong.
Interceding for some and be wrong?
And wrong. And what basically they don't even know what corporate prayer is. Because if
No,
you're in corporate prayer, you ain't praying for yourself.
no.
That's not that space. But these disciples knew, listen, he knows something that I don't know.
Amen.
Teach me something. They were teachable. They were willing to be taught. We don't live in that age. People think they know. And what they think they know is what's going to be their end. Because we are not in practice. We are at war. You can share, Prophet.
But one of the things is that a lot of people don't understand that we are at war, like you said, and then they don't understand that it's not just a snap your finger situation.
Thank you.
It's
It's
not.
not.
Nope, it's
You're
not, and
there.
it's not a oh, I can go ahead on and bend my knees and the problem is solved. Because we have those those testimonies where I got on my knees and prayed, and
Mm-hmm.
that was it, and God answered my prayer. And people don't understand
Sure.
how you live your life determines what you
Yeah.
do
What's your
for
relationship
Him.
is?
Determine
What's your relationship?
what's your relationship.
It's not
You
magic.
know,
You
when you
literally stepped
pray.
to what I wrote this morning, Prophet,
Hmm.
that there's something that you must do in order to bring the invisible into the visible. And it's not magic.
Amen.
It's not magic.
Amen. It's not just enough to say, God, do it.
No.
And they don't realize the regular prayer is not the only thing that has to take place.
Say that again, that last part. They don't understand.
They don't understand that the standard praying is not just the only thing that's needed. You know, people say, all you got to go do is go pray. Mm-mm. We
Come
know that
on.
some things come out by fasting and praying. Then
Hello.
we also know that even in that, how you live also determines a lot, you know. So it's multiple things, but obedience in every aspect is crucial to even how your prayers are answered.
Mm, yeah,
Because
that's a
a lot of
fact.
times we can be off and we can pray, Lord, for safety, and He'll answer. But then we can pray for, Lord, increase me to get a new car or whatever. And He may say
Mm,
no. He may turn it down because you haven't done your part. You haven't balanced the books.
mm,
You haven't stopped overspending.
mm.
You haven't stopped, you know, adding things to credit, or maybe you said you were going to pay a bill, but you never did. You said, "Oh, they'll get over it." You'd
Hmm.
be surprised. Those little things matter. And sometimes we have to check our motives and what we do and why we're asking for things. And sometimes He don't give it to us because we're asking basically out of vanity.
Out of what, Prophet?
Vanity.
Hello. Yep, you in the vein. James
We,
chapter
you
4.
know, we're asking out of, oh, I want to impress, or, you know, Lord, give me this position, but you're not prepared for it. You're not ready for it. You haven't studied for it. You haven't taken the course for it, but you want it.
Come on.
You know, just like some people, because of who they are, they get honorary degrees. They get an honorary doctorate, but they
That's
haven't done the work. It doesn't mean that they can go in and say, I'm a doctor now. Even
right.
though the people in the earth may say doctor, just like with Elton John. He's Sir Elton John, but he has not served on a throne. He has not run a kingdom, but he was knighted, Sir Elton John.
Well, I'll say this of that, sister. I'll say this of that. The serving in a kingdom and operating from a throne, we have to see that from different positions because he has certainly been a vessel in the earth to purvey whatever darkness desired of him, whatever the song was, whatever the melody was, whatever that thing was that would be released into the earth to create the environment that fosters whatever the goal is. He's done that. And he's pervaded through his lifestyle to people. We know what his lifestyle is. So this is why he's being knighted, because he's accomplished what he's been called to. He has accomplished that. He's done very well his assignment. Now we don't agree with his assignment, but he's done well.
Understand? Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
he's done.
But still, nevertheless, he was not a prince. He was not, you know, the next in line. He wasn't in the army of, or you understand what I'm
He
saying?
wasn't in
He
the
didn't
royal
have.
family to receive his knighting, is what you're saying.
Correct. He wasn't in the royal family, and he did not service the royal family, nor did he protect the royal family. So these are the things he didn't protect. He hasn't done those things that are considered to be the means. But yes, he has served as ambassador
Yeah,
because of of the industry,
yeah,
and so that in itself. But and they said, you know what? Because of that, you've done well. So we're gonna give you that title.
yeah. And lots of people got that title that we're not aware of.
Hmm.
Lots of people got that title because they have served and they have
Yeah.
done well in their assignment to convey the culture, the diabolic culture in the midst of the people.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, James chapter 4 says, from whence comes wars and fightings among you? Come they not hence even of your lust that war in your members?
Mm-hmm.
About why things don't happen, why prayers are not answered. You know, and a lot of this is because of the lust. You lusting, you're fighting, you're scratching. You want something, but the reason that you're not receiving it in some cases is because you haven't asked. And you say, well, I've been praying. Well, the word says you're asking amiss, because what you want it for is, as the prophet said, to brag about it. You want it to show that you have something. You want it to be, you know, in the crew. You know what I'm saying? You want it for the wrong purposes, that you might consume it upon your own lust. It's only for your consumption. It's not for anything else. It's not for anybody else. The Father, when he desired to bless mankind, he chose people to covenant with. And the covenant wasn't just about that individual. It was about those after the individual. It was a family blessing that would convey a blessing to other families. He said, I know Abraham. Abraham is going to align with me in such a way that he's going to begin to show forth who I am in the earth. You keep falling off, prophet. He's going to begin to show forth who I am in the earth. And he's going to tell his children's children. In other words, he's going to begin to establish a pattern, a divine pattern, so that they can begin to walk something out that continuously takes them to a promised place. They continuously arrive in my promise because of what he is preaching to them. They're going to continually arrive there because they are able to conceive the invisible. They don't know anything about this, but he's planting a seed in them. And in their acceptance of this seed, they become expectant people. That something is produced from, something comes out of, because they are able to conceive it. I was sharing this with somebody I love just the other day, and I think I mentioned it yesterday lightly, but we got to come from the place of expecting or anticipation of the performance of people. See, because of the performance of people, we become satisfied because of performance, not understanding that the lifestyle of a believer is beyond the performance. It's beyond the performance of a thing. Well, I won't say we, the church industrial complex has been trained to desire to see performance. So here goes. They don't conceive healing during a message. They need you to stop after you've preached and now come and start praying for folks and laying hands on folks, because that's the way that they've been trained. That's the way that they see things. But the apostolic way, the way that the master came and established, is that people would begin to see or hear during the message. He said, listen, I'm going to speak in parables, but guess what? Those that desire, those that get a hunger to know what the parable is, are going to ask the question. This is why the disciples asked, what does that mean? And then there were many that would come in other seasons, and they understood something about him that was like, this is not natural. This is supernatural. It's something about him that's different. It's not just the norm. He's showing something that is not the norm that I'm used to seeing. This is why they made a difference between the Pharisees and the master. They said, no, his doctrine is strong. Even in the parabolic dimension, his doctrine is strong. There's something different about him. You understand what I'm saying? And the Father made that difference for those that would have eyes to see and ears to hear. They would come into the space of deliverance because they aren't covering up their eyes or closing their ears to it. We got to get beyond the performance. See, deliverance, what I've learned about deliverance is that it's more than the buckets and the cloths and all of that. That has become a place of performance. But if you are delivered, then you're going to do different. You're going to begin to see things differently. You're going to begin to function differently. And it's going to be something that you know. It's not going to be something that you just, oh, I just believe that I'm different. No, no, no. You're going to know that you're changed because your appetite has changed. Now something in you has shifted. We want the performance without the produce. They don't have to produce anything as long as they performed. So we're thinking, oh, well, they performed. Oh, no, now they're back in that space. They never came out of the space. The enemy just performed for you to leave them alone so that they could stay, so that he could have a place to reside. So, oh, if that's how you see this thing, if you see deliverance as thrown up in buckets and cloths and all of that and falling out on the floor, then the enemy said, oh, I can facilitate that. That's not a big deal for me. I know how to do that. You forget the man in the tombs? The demoniac, you forget him? That's what he was doing. Manifesting. That's what he was doing. We look at this as, oh, they're manifesting. Oh, that means, no, listen. Do you have a word that ceases that manifestation? Have you been authorized to call a halt to the manifestation? Because what the master came to do was stop the performance. That was free. It's not even, I didn't even come here for that. He came to stop the performance. He didn't come for the performance. He came to bring a stop to it. The industrial complex, the church industrial complex, I can say the religious industrial complex, because even the Catholics with their exorcism stuff, they live for the performance of a thing. Father's not about the performance. He wants the produce that comes of it. Where is the production? Now you are carrying something you're expecting, because just like they were carrying that diabolic spirit, and what was the expectancy? That they was going to act out. That's what you continually saw them birth, because they were carrying something. Now, so now if they're carrying the spirit of Yah and it's in operation, then they should be birthing those things that bring life, that are pertaining to life, no longer pertaining to the death, because those that walk after the flesh, right? Destruction is the end. But those that walk after the spirit, life is the expectancy. Look at this. He says to the disciples, I'm going back to James first. Let me go back there because we're going to go back to the disciples. But he says that you ask amiss so that you'll consume it upon your own lust. I'm in James chapter 4. He said, ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity it's enmity with Yah. Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is an enemy of Yah. We have made so much enemy with false ideas. So many enemies have been made with false ideas, because we got people thinking they can snap their fingers. It's a snap, they can just say something and it's just, they're going to just see it because they say it. It's a position. It's you can't just say, I'm going to have a baby and just, you're going to have a baby. You have to get in a position to do that. You have to have the environment that is conducive to produce that, to conceive that. It's not just because you say it. I was talking about the soap business yesterday, my soap business, right? I said 2 years prior to me being in that hotel room, sitting on the end of that bed, writing down these recipes, I'm going to make soap. But guess what? I'm going to make soap was the declaration that the Father desired to come out of my mouth. 2 years later, he began to give me the recipes for what I said 2 years prior. But if I never wrote down the recipes, if I never wrote the recipes down and never began to identify how this process works to do what I was called to do. And I never began to go through the process to put it together to see the actual production of it. I'm going to make soap, it's just words. I've got to go through the process. And that's just like anything else. Now I use that because that's a more of a challenging thing to do. You can't say, Prophet Marley said this the other day, I'm going to cook dinner, or I'm going to eat dinner, and you haven't even cooked it yet. You can say you're going to eat dinner, but you're going to still have to go through that process. So it's the same thing when we go into a place of prayer. We need to understand, first of all, what the prayer place is. We've got to understand that, why we're there. Here's the truth of the matter. The Father gives us both what to say and what to speak. Prayer is not a place where you make things up. Can y'all write that in the comment section? Prayer is not a place where you just make it up as you go along. Now, are there inquiries? Yes. Do you have questions of the Father? Yes. But guess what? A lot of the reasons why you have questions about things is because of the things that you're already facing. So those things would be conversations that have already been had with you that now you're trying to get clarity or understanding concerning those things. You don't just make up what you're going to say, even when it comes time to pray. Those things are given. Everybody sees. I'm going back to that point. Everybody sees. But what you do with what you see is what matters. Some people see in dream, vision, trances, just meditations. They see things, but something weird happened to me. Oh, it was a weird dream that I had. What do you mean it was weird? It was a conversation. Now you got to identify where the conversation is hailing from. Is it a soul conversation? Is it something in your soul that needs to be resolved and now it's coming out in your dream? That's still the Father speaking to you. He's still revealing that there's something in the realm of your soul that needs to be restored. This is why you keep dreaming about the person that you don't want to deal with, because there's something in your soul, in the realm of the soul, that needs to be resolved. So you'll have the dream. No need to be frustrated about the dream. It's a revelation of something that needs to be dealt with. The Father speaks through the dream realm. I still say to this day, the adversary doesn't have dominion over the dream realm. He does not. So if you say you had a nightmare, I beg to differ with you. You might not have liked what you dreamt, but listen, the adversary didn't give you that dream. That wasn't an adversary dream. That was a dream to have a conversation with you about some things, to reveal some things to you. That's what the dream's purpose was. And if you're in terror, you need to understand the dream so you can understand how to get away from what you need to get away from in the natural realm, because the thing that you're operating in that natural space, or something that you're getting ready to face because of decisions that you make, is going to bring terror to your life. It's still the Father speaking to you. It's still him talking. But we hear all of these different conversations about things. And if we don't understand that the Father uses the dream to communicate, we'll just discount it. We'll think, oh, that was a demonic dream. Really? Here's what Job said in 33. You go to Job 33 real quick. Job chapter 33. This is what it says. In a dream. Let me read it from. For Yah speaks once, yea, twice, yet man perceiveth it not. Job 33:14. Yet man perceiveth it not. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, and the slumberings upon the bed. Yah holds the reins to the dream dimension. The only reason you would be having a dream is because he allowed you to be in that space. It's a conversation about something. So when you wake up, it's not about something being weird. It's about you asking the question, what was that? You notice that anytime any of the sons of Yah wound up in a divine dimension, a realm, a heavenly realm, there was a question being asked. There was a guide there. There was an angelic agency guiding them through that process. And the angel would ask, do you know what you're seeing? If they didn't know, guess what they said? I don't know what that is. I don't know. I don't know what that is. They ask questions. What is it that you see? Now, there were times when they asked, what is it that you see? And the prophet said, I see this or I see that. And they said, okay, you've seen well. But understand what you saw. Now you got to understand the revelation of what you saw. You did see an almond tree blossoming. Absolutely. That's absolutely right. That's exactly what that was. Now you need the revelation for the almond trees blossoming. So you saw what you saw in the dream. Yes. Now you need the revelation of that. And this is the place that prayer and meditation, being the vehicle of the invisible realm, comes into play, because now I've got to engage with the Father on these matters. I've got to have conversations, but you got to have relationship in order to realize the conversationship. If you don't have relationship, then you can't come into that understanding, because you don't have the relationship to come into the conversationship. So you take it upon yourself to say, oh, I just had a weird dream. Ask for revelation. Ask for understanding. See, we hear the word telling us all the time that we need wisdom. It's the principal thing. We need it. He said, ask for wisdom. Listen, every day we need the wisdom of the day. Every night we need the wisdom of the night. I dare you in this season, before you go to sleep at night, to ask the Father for the wisdom of the night. He just spoke that. He said, listen, make it a practice for the next 50 days. Because we're in the 51st. Make it a practice to ask the Father for the wisdom of the night. Just take the time. Father, give me the wisdom of the day. When you rise in the morning, give me the wisdom of the afternoon. Give me the wisdom of the night. Because it's something that's in the invisible realm that you don't see, that you need to be able to conceive. It's something that he wants to say to you or show you in the spiritual realm that you don't see in the natural, that he needs you to become the vehicle through prayer and meditation to bring it into the realm of reality. Invisibility needs a vehicle to become visible. I hope you're hearing me. Prophet, are you hearing me?
Amen. I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Often when people are praying, they're treating it as a magic space. Just because I say it, I expect the performance of it. They're toiling in their flesh to what end? To what end? When you see those the counterfeit at that wall in that space they call it Jerusalem, I'm using my words intentionally. They're doing a bunch. They're moving, they're bobbing, they're weaving at the wall. They're doing toiling to what end?
My Lord.
Now we understand the passion of prayer, because when I get into a prayer place, I often become very passionate. But I also am passionate because I understand I'm receiving the words, I'm conceiving the words that the Father is speaking through me into the environment. That's where my passion is coming from. I'm not praying in a place of passion to hope that the level of my passion produces something. I already know that the words that I'm speaking are being produced because the Father gave them to me. He's the one that gave me the words to bring the production. Toiling in their flesh to what end? Let me ask you a question. When did we ever see the master toiling in prayer? Now go ahead and say in the garden. I dare you. Because we never saw him toiling in prayer. His garden experience was his angst concerning what the Father told him had to be. He wasn't toiling in the prayer. He was toiling, or his angst was about what the Father already spoke to him. He sweated like great drops of blood over the idea of what needed to be done, not the death of it, but the separation of it. That's what his toil was over. He was deliberating, can we do this another way? Because being separated from you is not my idea of the thing. That's not my idea. Can we come up with something else? Let's talk about this. Listen, there has to be a way of doing this thing besides being separated from you. He never toiled in prayer to get anything done. Never. It was never about the performance, but about the purpose. When he stood in front of Lazarus' tomb, you tell me where the toil was. Matter of fact, he said out loud, he said, listen, I'm only doing this for the sake of the people that are standing around. Father, you know how we get down. You know what we do. You know, for the sake of these people, I'm going to do it this way. Lazarus, come forth. He could have went to the tomb. He could have just walked by the tomb and Lazarus got up. He could have just came into the region and Lazarus was awakened and screaming from the tomb, hey, move the stone. Okay? He knew what his power was, but he wanted to show them that relationship with the Father is how you get things done. So he utilized that moment, but it was not a toil. When we see people dealing with deliverance and dealing with, casting out these adversarial entities, laying hands on people, they are toiling. To what end is the toil? Because if there is authority there is no need for toil. Listen, when we were looking at the video yesterday, did you notice that they came up with this machine and now there was no need for the toil? They had the mechanism by which they could operate this process now. This process could now be operated with this machine. No need for 100 men now to go out there and be cracking the sand with those axes anymore. What would they look like going out there cracking the sand and they got this thing that can do 10 times their work? So all you need is the mechanism to get it done. If you have the mechanism, the machinery to do the work, then why are you toiling? Why are you toiling? What's this word that a lot of people in the complex like to use when it comes to prayer? It's a word that was in my spirit and it just kind of passed by. It passed by me. It has to do with laboring. It's a continual laboring. But at some point you stop laboring and you bring something forth, right? Right, Prophet? Don't you stop laboring at some point? And birth something at some point. What is the word? I'm going to think of this word and I'm going to tell you what it is tomorrow if I don't think of it before we get off of here today. But he never toiled in prayer to get anything done. It was never about the performance. It was simply about the purpose. So what is Abba saying? Okay, let's announce that. What is Abba doing? Okay, let's declare that. Let's do that. This is why the disciples said, teach us to pray. Teach us to deal in the invisible realm, Master. We see the outcomes you get as a result of what you say. Little did they know the place of prayer is the place of becoming. How? Because in the place of prayer, we are instructed of Yah what to say and what to speak. We are declaring from the invisible realm what has yet to be seen in the light of day. It hasn't yet seen the light of day. This was all of the forefathers, Abraham, Noah. You know what I'm saying? We'll talk tomorrow about what happened on the mount with Elijah. They were toiling in prayer. To what end? Elijah just said, listen, go ahead and remake all this stuff for me. Go ahead and get it all back together again because I need to do my work now. Let me go ahead and get done what I'm here to do. And what I'm here to do is to spoil darkness so that the people can see light again. I'm here to spoil darkness. So I need you to go ahead and do all the things that are necessary, rebuild the altar for me. He said, as a matter of fact, I need you to dig a ditch around my altar and go get some water and pour it into the ditch. Fill it up. Yeah, because I'm going to show you something. I'm not getting ready to do all that y'all did. All that toiling y'all did, clearly your God is asleep. Maybe he's using the toilet. I don't know what he got going on, but he ain't responding to y'all. Y'all done cut yourself. You bleeding. You going through all these changes. He ain't responding. So I beg to ask the question, if you're doing all that you're doing and you're not getting a response, who are you talking to? Who are you communicating with? Because sons have relationship with their father, and they're on assignment in every space to bring from the invisible realm to the visible realm what the Father declares should be so, because we're bringing the kingdom from the heavens to the earth, on earth as it is in the heavens. He simply said, you know, let's just get this altar set up. Now let's look at it. Let's look at it. Because y'all did all that you did and you didn't see nothing. Now what? We're gonna say God didn't answer? Oh, he's doing something else. You know, he just didn't want me to have it in that moment. No. You were clearly having a conversation somewhere else, because if you were having a conversation that he desires, he follows after his word to perform it. You understand what I'm saying? So prayer is the place that the Father allows sons the privilege of being a part of what the Father wants to do. You know, he says, I don't do anything in the earth unless I first have a conversation with my serving prophets. What is the conversation about? It's about them conceiving something invisible to bring forth the visible. Are you understanding what I'm saying? We're going to pick this up tomorrow. Prophet, did you have any last words before we get off here? Got to be short. Oh, she gone again. Listen, we out of here. I love you guys. Peace to the house of the sons of Yah. We'll be back in the morning to continue the conversation. And we'll continue the conversation. You got 30 seconds worth of something to say. You could say it, because we got to get off of here.
I agree with everything you said, all that I heard. And yes, we have to understand that the dreams are messages for us, for our clarity, for our understanding, for our movement within the earth, and
Yes.
also for the things and the communications that that Yah has for us with Him.
Yes.
And if we're
That's it.
not clear about it, true enough, we do need to ask the wisdom. And I like the fact that you said the wisdom of the day, the wisdom of the evening, the wisdom of the afternoon, because
Yeah.
there are different phases. And also to know that even when we're in that state of dreaming, we're not in a helpless state. A lot of people don't understand you can take authority in the dreams that you do have for communication.
But you have to first take it in the natural realm. So we're
In the
going to pick up.
natural, yeah.
Let's pick up there tomorrow. We done went into 112. I love y'all. The body is not a me thing. It's a we thing. I love y'all. We'll see you in the morning. Peace to the house
Shalom.
of the sun.